4 inches is fine.
TPO time. That's right. People that don't want to see other people coming around them anymore. We're going to jump right into it. This is live. We cannot pause it. So pay attention, children. Like this video, and we'll see you in the comments. Creed's on his way.
And so with that, could you raise your right hand, please? You swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Got one
You can
person.
put your hand down.
There she is. There she is.
How is it you need an order against, and again, keep in mind, I did review the files. I know in this case, there was a couple of videos submitted. I understand there's a fair amount of history involved in this, and I've reviewed all the files here, but for the record,
The wolves.
how is it that you need an order against Mr. Wolf?
So in February 2021, his daughter assaulted me, and she is actually going to be charged in court at 1:30 today. And there's other incidences that tie in with this where my property is being damaged, and so she was caught on video with moving my trash cans. So when
Not
it
the
comes to
trash
like destroying
cans.
the personal property, if I don't have anything on video as evidence, he's claiming that he's the one who's doing it. I've had my trash cans not get serviced because my trash cans are being moved away from the road and then being placed back after the trash has been serviced. I've had visitors. I'm a ambassador to my church, and so I've been doing ministry work at my home.
Church
And
ambassador.
I've had people come over
That's new.
and their vehicles have been pinned in. They've installed a gate back in June of this last year. And with the trenches that they've put in or the speed bumps that they put in, it has been to a point where people haven't been able to cross across these speed bumps. And so they have parked at the end of the road because they can't get across safely.
They're putting in moats.
The wolves have parked their truck behind them, and they have crossed words with them in regards to saying this is private property, you can't park here, but people can't get up to my house because they've put a gate in. The gate itself has also been where they have pulled the chain so tight around it. It's a long chain. They could easily just hook it loosely to be able to unlock it. And it's been pulled so tight that FedEx can't deliver. They won't deliver my packages. UPS won't deliver it.
What?
My daughter's cut her hand on the chain trying to get it off. Multiple people have had injury of trying to just open this gate that they've installed. When people come right through, they're coming right after them and closing the gate. And so the last few months, I've asked people just to move and love thy neighbor and just close the gate and just try and create peace.
Yeah, this is already crazy.
My
I
daughter,
thought it wasn't going to be that bad at first.
She was injured. Actually, me and all three kids were injured from these speed bumps, and I submitted a letter from her pediatrician. She couldn't walk for a month and a half. She had to use the elevator at her school because of just the depth of these trenches.
Wow.
She was caught on video when she assaulted me, telling me what those trenches weren't deep enough for you the first time. How about I get in my tractor and go dig them a little deeper? And she's caught on video stating that. The wolves have just kind of partnered and teamed. I can't get in and out of my house safely. If I have to get out and open this gate, then they're right there and they're yelling profanity at me or they're saying stuff to me. And so I have to get out of my vehicle to be able to get out of my property. And they're making it so I can't enter in safely or leave safely.
This is crazy.
A lot of trauma to my kids. I'm a single mom right now. I dropped the case against them, the civil suit, because it had already costed me $20,000, and my husband left during the pandemic, and I've been raising these kids financially on my own. So I even told the attorney, when I was voluntarily dismissing him. I would like to have peace. The only thing I ask is that I can be able to enter in and out of my property without being harassed, and I'm fine moving forward. I even offered to maintain the property of the easement. And when I was told that I had permission to weed eat and mow, I went and weed eated and mowed. And then the next day I had a threatening letter left on my trash can. So it's continual harassment on a sense of, I
You're
don't,
right, Debbie.
they haven't submitted any evidence of me doing anything to them. They have even submitted in their evidence that they, in response to me, that that their horses have COPD and the dust is an issue or something. They've paved every access point to their house. There's 3 entry points to their home. They have the Wolf's properties here and their daughter's properties here. And they have all these open access points, but the entrance to my home is the only one that they have put a gate on and that they have not paved. They've paved
Wow.
everything else in just this last year, but they will not pave the easement. And so therefore, if that's an issue, we even offered back a few years ago, 3 years ago, to go in halves on the paving, and they still declined it. So they've been using this easement as a means of harassing me, of putting a gate on. They've put logs
He's
and
coming.
boulders. They've parked tractors and trailers. We're supposed to have a 20-foot easement, and it's now down to less than 10.
I have no idea. Can they?
And
Wow,
even
this is crazy.
he put a declaration in there
yeah.
stating that his vehicle is bottoming out. The day my daughter got in an accident, we couldn't even have emergency vehicles come up to our property. They had to wait at the very bottom.
Wow.
And they sent a fireman up in his truck.
Wow.
So it's a safety concern. I can't even get people for safety up to my property.
So these trenches were dug back in 2021, is that correct?
They've changed so many different times. You can't even keep track of how many times they've altered it. It started with 1, then it went to 2. And when they've done it, they never even notified. And the first car accident that I got into, I was seeing chiropractic care. It threw my whole shoulder out. It felt like I literally hit a brick wall when I was driving over it. I've been going 5 to 7 miles per hour. When Officer Sanders approached the Wolves in regards to the speed limit, Marcia had said that 7 to 10 miles per hour is speeding. And Officer Sanders tried to have a conversation with them about they can't enforce speed in there. They can't control that easement.
Good job.
And they said that he even put in his declaration that he would do whatever force is possible in order to control what he wants to do on his property.
TPO granted. Goodbye.
This is so
How
crazy.
long have you lived there?
It'll be 4 years on August 1st.
Did you move in there in 2019?
It was, yes, August 1st of 2019.
And then the Wolves, I'm assuming, were there when you moved in?
They were there when we moved in, yes.
How did things go with, has it always been this way?
No, it started off great. I went down and I was making them cornbread and chili. We were invited to their like little country hoedown kind of thing. We were down there petting the horses and everything. I even asked them if they would be willing to teach me, because we had initially bought this property to put horses on our property. And I asked if I could learn and help them with their horses so I could learn different things. And with my back injuries, because I was in a car accident 6 years ago, I needed to know if I could physically keep up with stuff. And I grew up with horses and farm animals, and I wanted to learn more. And they were all on board with it. And then there's text messages through the court proceedings that we had for the civil suit that show that we were never the issue. And then it was literally the day, like right when COVID hit, it was just all of a sudden like a light switched, and it became, it's not you guys, it's your, first it was like, you guys are having too many people coming over and they're speeding up and down. And we tried to keep the
Thank you,
peace. We
Jojo.
asked them, we'll talk to people in regards to it. And then it became about
Wasn't
the
like
FedEx and the
He was on
UPS.
time.
It was never about us. And then the minute that I didn't respond to a text message, then Stacy in regards to others coming up and down this driveway, she then started messaging me on Facebook and I didn't respond. And then when I did respond, it all of a sudden just switches. And then Marcia sent text messages. The day that you decided to talk to my daughter is the day that, we've
if you're not
realized this is not a working relationship.
if you're not listening to any of this, bud.
Kind of mentality. And
Pick your
since
poison.
then, they've just started using the easement as a way of just controlling the situation. And then they started going on the backside of our property. They don't even have property that's connected to ours. There's an owner of property that has land all in between us. And they started paving more of an ATV track. And they were having drunken parties more often. And that's when
These
Stacey was
two?
on camera and assaulted me, and then started making more threats in regards to using the easement as a way to harass me even more. Since I even offered in the whole assault stuff, I even offered just to be living peacefully, and if we can just
Fill in the
allow us to
trenches?
access our property, I can let go everything that's happened. And I just want God to restore that road and to restore their hearts. I don't know what it is that.
Mr. Drury, well, actually, I do have one other question.
think
and I'm gonna allow
God
him
does
to
that
ask
kinda
questions if he
work,
wishes.
but
How long is this easement? Are we talking like 100 yards,
It's
200 yards,
227 feet.
200, so not even 100 yards?
I don't know what 100 yard is,
100
sorry.
yards,
300
yards is
300
The
feet.
beginning of this
3
was
feet
much
to a
worse. She
yard.
kind of trailed
100
on
yards
though,
is 300
trailed
foot,
off of the
300 feet, like a
She
football
did.
field.
Main-
length of
you know what I
kind of
mean?
End zone to end zone. I don't know if you may not watch football either. I don't know, but a football field is 100 yards. That's 300 feet. So that'd be a little bit less than 100 yards, which answers my question. Thank you. So I'm going to ask Mr. Dury if he has any, unless you want to say something else.
So I did want to add,
She has
this is
videos, by the way.
visual. So if you were to say, this is the easement right here.
Right.
Stacy's property is here. They have access this way and they have another access right by the wolves.
Right.
This easement, if they're making this complaint that they're protecting their animals and so on and so forth, they have a gate that's put here. All of this is all open and not fenced off. If they're arguing that they don't want their animals to get out, Gary, go out all of this side. They have nothing that is blocking anything. Right here's a gate, and then all of these sides right here are fence posts with no fencing. So even though that there's a gate right there, the animals can go out that way and they can go out that way. Just putting
Thank you,
a gate
Gary.
right here is not blocking animals. So everything that they're justifying in their defense is countered with, they're not paving the easement. They're not blocking off other portions. They're only using this easement as a way to harass me. They have all these other access points. They throw drunken parties every Thursday night. They have all these people
What a
that
weird
come
night.
to their bar that they've put like a tavern kind of thing in their barn, and they're all accessing their property through that side. Not
Talk
through
about
that
these old
gate
folks
access.
out here, right?
Yeah,
They
the
don't
wolf.
even
Okay,
have to
just
use that
want to make sure.
access point because they have everything else.
I hope I'm still partying at their age like they do, and having hoedowns and chili on horseback.
Cornbread too, Creek. Cornbread.
Okay, Mr. Drury, any questions? For
Just a
Ms.
few.
Hamilton?
Mr.
Just a few,
Drury.
Your Honor. Ms. Hamilton, can you hear me okay?
Sir.
All these things you mentioned about, this easement,
Could be.
I mean, these were all mentioned in your lawsuit, were they not?
Not all of them, no.
Okay, but I believe those declarations that you filed along with this, those were a part of that lawsuit, correct?
Not, I don't know if all of them are. I'd have to look back.
I mean, they're from a 2021 lawsuit. That would be that real estate matter you brought.
asking, because you know what was submitted in there, so I don't know.
Thank you,
what you're
Georgia
trying to say.
Peach.
I'm just saying, I mean, you would know where you got those declarations. Have you had anybody recently, within the last, since late April, draft a new declaration?
Yes, sir.
Who was that?
I have multiple ones. I have one from Ashley Bloom. I have one from Kathy Belter. I have one that there's a list of them. I just didn't have enough time to be able to submit them when I was trying to get an emergency order.
What this?
So I could provide at least 20 more if I needed to.
Now, you mentioned in this petition that you stated Ron was videotaping me and they parked his tractor to narrow the roadway. Do you remember that what you wrote in the petition regarding that issue?
Yes.
Now, when I review your video, it's pretty clear the tractor is not on the roadway whatsoever.
Punch your
How do you
dude around, give
explain
a
your
damn.
description there as narrowing the roadway?
Do you understand how wide my easement is supposed to be?
Well, you indicated you were pinned in, and that seemed like pretty
Fancy.
intentional language, but when I'm looking at that video, you're not pinned in at all. I'm wondering, how can you explain that?
Ooh, Heather.
So if are you asking me to explain it? Or
Yes.
So
Yes.
if I'm coming up to get out of my property, the only exit is a gate, and it was zip tied shut and chained shut. And I have to use bolt cutters to be able to cut it. And I've asked police before I was able to cut it. This was the third day in a row that the chain was too tight. And then after I cut the chain, I had to cut the zip ties. And the whole time that I'm trying to get out and struggling to cut this, I cannot videotape, and I have 2 children in the car crying and trying to keep themselves together because I have a
no.
man yelling at me saying I'm a nasty bitch. Go ahead and keep cutting it.
Carol, you're not
destroying
the nasty
personal
bitch.
Property. Go ahead and see what
Well.
happens to you tonight. You're going to pay for this. And I have 2 kids that I have to keep together. How is that not being pinned if you're zip tied and chained into there?
Okay, so
And
you're
I'm coming
saying,
back to show a video, but yet Mr. Wolf never submitted his. There's no evidence of his recording of what he had the whole entire time.
okay. So you're standing there recording and you're using bolt cutters. I thought in your petition, you just indicated you had to remove the zip ties. Did you actually use bolt cutters to cut a chain?
I had to use bolt cutters to cut a zip tie and a chain. There's no way that with my back to somebody that I can hold a camera and use bolt cutters. The video that I showed was me walking back, showing me getting into my car.
Okay. So you
So
did bolt.
there's a whole clip of the video that was not shown. And if your client had submitted it, it would show the proof that I had put in my verbiage. And I can also have a 13-year-old submit her testimony. But the last time I tried to do that with an officer, they said they do not accept that in court. Therefore, I did not put my child through that trauma.
That's
and she's
weird.
already done a year's worth of counseling.
Now, and what you're referring to there in your video is you can hear Mr. Wolf indicate that you're a nasty woman, but nowhere in your video submitted does it say that. Do you hear the words nasty bitch coming out of his mouth? Isn't that correct?
That's because the video did not start on that piece. That was the second half of his threats that he was saying to me. And he
Okay.
also made comments about me being a Christian woman. In the video once, did you not hear me respond to Mr. Wolf? I videotaped him, I got in my car, and I drove off after I was safe to be able to leave my property. And I called authorities right after.
The old people down here, the guys
So
who
if your client
videotaping
submitted his
It's embarrassing.
video, you would have
How can they be
heard
allowed to put
my
up a chain
testimony
across the
being accurate
road?
because he
I
did
don't
not
get
submit
that.
his
on an
video.
easement.
That it shows clearly he was videotaping me the whole entire time as I was walking back to get to my car.
you videotaping the wolves on their property is not abnormal. You do that pretty frequently as you pass through, if you see them.
Are you trying to ask me? Because the only time I've ever videotaped is when they've done something to me.
Okay. Now, did you have a chance to read our response declaration, Ms. Hamilton?
Yes, it's right in front of me.
And do you recall this incident, which we marked as Exhibit A back in 2022? In August 26th of 22, did you have a chance to review that police report?
Yes, I do.
Okay. In that particular case, the officer made note that maybe you should just pass through the easement instead of basically standing around videotaping the wolves on their property. Do you remember that?
Well,
Yes.
I like the way
Okay.
he put that. I'll give him
Have you decided not to take that officer's advice?
that.
If I can't exit my property because a gate is there and I have to get out my gate, I get out my car to open a gate, I am now putting myself in harm's way. Therefore, I will have a video on me
harm's way.
to protect me in a sense of being able to show evidence, because otherwise it's hearsay. And when I get out of the vehicle, there's typically more than one person to corroborate their side of their testimony. And I have kids in the car. I'm a female with young children, and not an officer can
Single
take
mom.
an evidence like a narrative from a child. So I have video evidence, and I've been told by the police that I am allowed to videotape to show proof. I've been asked to get cameras and install them all across my property because they have multiple cameras that are recording me every single time I get out of that gate. There's a gaming camera that is posted right directly at the gate. They also have an additional camera posted at me. And every single time now when I get out of my car, the only part that I lose cell phone service is right when I get to that gate.
What?
So
So,
I
I mean,
have to
they have
videotape every
blockers.
single
I mean,
time
I
because
doubt it.
I can't even call authorities until I get
the
away
thing.
from that gate.
A blackout area. Very crafty.
So, and
Curious.
you're referring to your conversations with officers. How many times would you say you've called the police over the last 2 years on the wolves?
If you were to do a records request, you could be able to get that information. I'm not going to give a number, but if you did a records request, you could see every complaint.
Look
that
at the
I've had to
judge.
file.
Would you agree it's probably 16,
right.
17 times?
She's right though.
16 to
I'm not
17
gonna agree
times.
with the number because you could pull up that information. I don't know the exact number. I'm not going to swear into court on a number.
On another incident, which you reference in your petition, you said that
Good point, Iowa
the
golfer,
wolves,
Lisa.
you said during a 911 call after they, referring to the wolves, destroyed my fencing. What are you referring to there?
What do you mean? You just stated what you're asking me, so I don't know where you're going with this.
Well, I'm asking you, what are you referring to? You said the wolves destroyed your fencing and that's basically it. Do you still hold that to be
Hello.
true, that the wolves destroyed your fencing?
It doesn't matter what I hold to be true because I'm presenting that they're creating an issue of there being an endangerment to me. I mean, their daughter's caught on video assaulting me, telling me that she's going to use the easement as a way to harass me. And in addition to that, it wasn't until all of a sudden she's about to go to court because I petitioned to go to mediation with you guys in regards to her assault and not.
I was just asking about the fence issue.
I thought I wasn't supposed to be talked over. You asked
Well,
for my response.
you're
so
not
I'm giving
answering
you-
my
Getting into
question.
something good. He didn't like
Mr.
that.
Drury, just hang on. I'm gonna have you stop. Mr. Drury, you can ask a question and then you can give an answer. We'll just kind of start over with this particular exchange.
Sure.
Mr. Drury, go ahead.
Ms. Hamilton, you mentioned the wolves, and I assume you're referring to Marcia and Ron
Not yet.
damaging your fence. That's all you stated about that. I'm asking you to describe that incident.
So in that incident, my fence was plowed over with an ATV track or a tractor. It was completely rammed over with some type of vehicle.
Must not have been much of a fence.
When did this happen?
ATV
They have-
just plowed over.
I would have to look on the
They have
dates. There's
tractors,
too
too.
many things to even remember that have happened.
Do you have any information that it was Ron or Marshall Wolf?
I don't have anything in front of me to go through all of that stuff.
So why did you, if you don't have any
It's a
information
no.
that was Ron or Marshall Wolf, why did you put this in a petition to seek a no contact order against them?
When I spoke with the officer, they said that they were the ones that they went and took care of the tree that had fallen over there. So they had admitted to the whole tree was the reason why the fencing went down.
Okay.
Okay, so it was a tree that damaged your fence.
But they went over to my property to remove a tree that is not even on their property. And they're claiming that the tree took out my fence, but there's tracks of their tractor or their ATV.
Okay. Now, that
Mm.
officer responded, he did not cite the wolves, he did not arrest the wolves. Do you recall that as well?
Hungry like the wolves.
Nothing was cited because there was no video footage
Okay.
showing had done it.
So that's the purpose of your video footage, really, to try to catch the wolves doing something where you can obtain an anti-harassment order. Is that correct?
Video footage would be for my protection to show that harassment has been occurring. It's not the act, because there's been multiple accounts that things have been occurring, and they have even put in video that they were going to do things to me.
Yes.
So how else would you catch somebody in the act unless you have it on video, when testimonies of officers and witnesses of things have not even pushed grounds for anything? And things continue to keep happening. It's taken 2 years for somebody to be charged for an assault. And I've lost a prosecuting attorney multiple times and then been told by the prosecutor multiple times that they're understaffed right now.
Must be not much of an assault. What do
So
you think?
I don't have video footage.
She said
of
they've got
something,
court at 1:30 for that.
then it's all hearsay.
Understood. All right, Your Honor, I have no other questions for Ms. Hamilton.
Are you gonna have your clients testify, either or both?
Probably mainly Marshall Wolf, but probably Mr. Wolf, Ron Wolf a little bit, Your Honor.
Okay, so could you put him on camera, please? Maybe you can have them switch, because I can only see.
Ron
Very
Wolf.
quickly, while they do this, 100%, I was on her side before I jumped on, and
Will,
things
can you raise
started
your right hand?
downhill for her. Am I right about? I mean, in the beginning, it sounded like a cut and dry. Just
There's
go back.
trenches have
Yeah.
been dug that she has to drive through. There is a gate she has
Right.
now. She's been assaulted. They've done just numerous things. Her husband left her during COVID. She's a
Yeah.
single mom. A lot's going on here. A lot to unpack. Let's see what Mr. Wolf's got to say.
Ms. Hamilton briefly described regarding the words allegedly used, nasty woman or nasty bitch, around your gate.
Well, I was watching her, and she went to her car and got out her bolt cutters and proceeded to cut the second chain on our gate that I installed that morning. And I told her that she's got to pay for repairing my gate. It's property damage. You cannot do this.
Was that chain placed unusually tight, or was that chain put on the gate in any way that should have made it difficult for Miss Hamilton to access through the gate?
Absolutely not. She's been going through this gate since June 5th of last year.
Okay.
And now all of a sudden we've got issues.
Now you said the second time referring to the chain. What do you mean by that?
Tuesday evening, she came home and cut it. So I went out the next morning to secure our gate on our property with another gate, and I didn't have time or another bolt to replace the original chain, so I put it on there with a zip tie.
were the zip ties in any way put on in a manner that would have made it difficult for her to access through the gate?
Absolutely not.
What kind of gate is
Now,
this?
in reviewing the video, it does sound like some words were exchanged. At any point, did you call her a nasty bitch?
No, I did not.
Okay. At any point, did you say you're a nasty woman?
I did say that.
Were you angry at the time?
Very much so. She was destroying private property.
And one of the videos, it looks like this is occurring right in front of you. Did the actual bolt cutting of the chain or these zip ties, did that occur right in front of you?
Yes, we have pictures.
Ms. Hamilton also mentions your tractor. Did you like blocking the road or pinning her in somehow? Were you attempting to pin her in with your tractor?
Absolutely not. The tractor was in the ditch.
Was it on the road or would it have
No.
blocked access?
Absolutely not on the road. We know better than do that.
She's mentioned also again, this issue with sort of these speed control devices in the road. Are those placed there as a means to annoy or harass Miss Hamilton?
Absolutely not. They're to protect our neighbor Greg and our daughter's home from creating too much dust from herself and her friends speeding up and down the driveway, creating dust.
Okay. Have you at some point taken those out or attempted to take those out to see if you could provide the easement without those devices?
We took them out 3 times and replaced them because she would not adhere to the 5-mile-an-hour speed limit.
Okay. And
5 miles an hour.
Wow, he's watching
and
this.
are those devices in now? Are they still there?
Yes,
Interesting.
Do they have the desired effect of slowing traffic down?
not necessarily, no.
We have video,
Why is
but I
that?
don't think we're going to see it.
She
Yeah.
refuses not to speed up and down our property with access to her home.
I'm reading through the lines about this.
Before you
speed-
put those devices in,
I-
did you consult with any engineers or anybody
That's a red
else as
flag
far
for
as
me.
code issues that?
Yep, we went to Thurston County and got the proper coding, and that's what them speed bumps are designed.
I don't have any other questions for Mr. Wolf, Your Honor.
This
Do you have any
gate
questions you wish to
is
ask? me?
confusing
do.
as
Okay.
hell.
Ask what question
And
would you wish
speed
to have me
bumps
ask?
on a dirt road?
So the first question is, do they host parties that, or at any point, do they drive quads and ATVs on the property?
You can answer that question, Mr. Wolf.
I couldn't hear.
I'm
She
sorry.
wants to know
I-
if you've been throwing parties and having ATVs on she said the property, but did you mean her property or your property?
So, do they drive ATVs or quads or any vehicles on the property of the easement and on the back property close to their house?
Yes, we have rights from Scott Bessu, who owns that property. My wife has horses, which she rides on the trails back there. And we do ride our razors and our quads back there. We do have permission from Scott Bessel to do that.
Racers.
At
And
what
we do
speed
not-
would you say that
we
you
do not
travel
drive
on
with
those?
your property.
I can't hear.
Sorry.
So, and then she was inquiring, how fast are you people going on those ATVs?
Can't go very fast. There's lots of crooks and turns and twisties up there.
I think the question was, can you go very fast? The question was, how fast?
15, 20.
Okay.
So if you're
Private-
allowed to go 15, 20 miles per hour on your ATVs and I can only go 5 miles per hour, wouldn't those kick up more dust than a vehicle going 5 miles per hour?
She's got a good point.
Did you hear what she said?
No.
You didn't hear what she said.
I didn't hear her, Your Honor.
Oh, how
She
convenient.
said that, well, the long and the short of her question is, how come your friend's ATVs can go 15 to 20, but she can only go 5?
I am not creating dust up in the woods as she is driving on our easement to get to her home.
ATV's
On
going 20
gravel.
miles an hour. It kicking up dust like her at 5?
Up in
Are
the
there
woods.
not, are there not tire tracks from the exit of the easement from a vehicle that was driven from your guys' property on a drunken night with tire marks all across the easement and the driveway?
Ooh.
Your Honor, I'm gonna object to the form. I don't know what she's talking
Spicy.
about.
Thank you.
I'll sustain the objection.
Lawyer doesn't
but
like
you-
this
You
'cause
can
it
have to,
Makes him look bad.
but with your permission, Mr. Dury, I'm going to rephrase the question. She just asked if there's tire marks from any ATV on her portion of the easement
It was actually a car.
No,
or a car.
no.
So I have
You
pictures
sure about
of
that?
that. I did not submit to
All right.
evidence. The
Now,
other question is that, did you not tell Officer Sanders that you could do at any means force to do what means necessary to your private property?
Ron couldn't hear it.
Say that again, ma'am. I'm not sure I
Oh.
completely understood the question.
Did you not tell Officer Sanders that you can do what you want to the easement property and use any force necessary to control what you feel is right for your property?
Yeah, did they
Did you
not
hear
hear
that
the
question or
entire,
you wish to
the
repeat it?
entire thing then?
Well,
mhm.
Mr. Sanders
They heard nothing of her testimony. They made plenty of faces and
stated
whatnot.
when he was out there in this particular incident, that if he owned Ashley's property, he would buy a humongous four-wheel drive and tear my easement driveway up.
Oh, oh,
That's a police officer who is now our sheriff.
That's not answering the question.
So is that, I think the question was what you told Mr. Sanders. And then, so she wanted to know what you told Mr. Sanders about what you could do with your easement. And I understand your opinion of what Mr. Anders said to you. I think her question was, what did you say to him about what you could do with the easement?
Well, I'm sure I told him we could put a gate in and the speed bumps to protect our animals and our property.
Do
I
you have
don't know
additional
what to think
questions?
at this point.
Not at this time, no.
These speed bumps, how deep are they?
They're less than 3 inches per county code.
Okay.
How wide are they? Remember, her daughter injured herself
Is
in
she
one of these
correct
trenches.
when Ms. Hamilton told me at the beginning, you know, for a while, you guys got along just fine. And then all that changed.
Maybe until her kids came down unwillingly and unsupervised, got in my golf cart and just started driving around without permission. One of the youngest two got on our gate to the horse pen and was swinging back and forth on it, which if they would have got hurt, we would have been sued. So we asked them not to do that. And it wasn't a couple hours later, they were back down there doing it again. So we're
So
trying
was
to
that the
protect.
triggering event then that started all this, not the driving on the easement?
Oh, no, driving on the easement started it because she was creating too much dust for our neighbor Greg and our daughters.
Okay, my question is then, was the driving fine for a while, then all of a sudden she became a bad driver, or you weren't really bothered by the easement until something happened with the kids?
It
I mean, did
didn't
all of a
take
sudden
long.
she become become bad drivers, or was there something else going on here?
I'm not saying she's a bad driver. I'm saying she don't respect our neighbors for not creating dust for them.
I mean, if you live on a dirt road, you're going to
I
have
think I
dust.
can get into that.
It always that way, or
Of course.
okay, from what I understand, she lived there for a year or two without a problem. Then all of a sudden it's a problem.
Mhm.
So again, did the driving habits changed, or again, is something else going on here?
It started right after they moved in.
And ma'am, if you're going to testify, you can, but I need you to be sworn in, and then I'll hear from you. And so otherwise, Mr. Wolf is the only sworn witness at the moment.
Okay,
And so,
Her chili was shit.
it all,
again, if you testify, you can certainly do that, but I'll swear you in. But do you wish, and again, Mr. Dury, I'll defer to you whether you want her to answer. Again, I'm not out there. I'm not seeing what's going on.
Yeah,
I know less about this than anyone.
I was
but-
actually going to call Marcia first, but the court she was going to answer a lot of those questions, I think, for the court on some of the background. I just
All right.
wanted.
Ms. Wolf, could you raise your right hand, please?
Her cornbread was off.
You swear and affirm the information and testimony you provide will be the truth.
You're
the whole
real
truth,
good
and
now,
nothing but the
huh?
truth?
Both of them.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're everything.
You can put your hand down. Go ahead, Mr. Jury.
Sure. Miss Wolf, how long has Miss Hamilton been your neighbor?
I believe they moved in August of 2019.
Okay. Prior to that, have you ever had a neighbor call police on you?
Never,
Have you ever had a neighbor seek an anti-harassment order against you?
never.
Turning to this easement issue, my understanding is that Miss Hamilton filed a civil lawsuit against you regarding that issue.
Correct.
And did that have to do with the speed bumps or the speed control devices?
Definitely.
Did it have to do with the gate?
Not at that time.
Okay.
The gate only went in June 5th of 2022.
And what was the result of that lawsuit?
The Hamiltons were asked for evidence for all of their claims and did not produce any. And then eventually, Miss Hamilton dissolved the lawsuit. She canceled it.
With these previous
remember that thing, yeah.
neighbors, did you ever install sort of anti-speed devices of any type along the easement?
No, because there was no dust created and there was no speeding up and down that would concern the horses.
Was the speeding, did that start occurring, when Miss Hamilton arrived, or did that happen later? Or
At first, I would say starting about September of 2019, the Hamiltons actually drove very respectfully up and down. It was their guests and some of the delivery drivers. And there were numerous texts on, trying to get people to slow down on the easement, stop creating dust. It was a safety hazard. And then all of a sudden, Miss Hamilton no longer drove nicely up and down the easement. She was speeding up and down pretty frequently.
Speeding according to you and your husband.
and did you
Yeah.
talk with
That's
her
the
about
roads.
these speed control devices, or?
And we had talked about it. We tried to come to conclusions on how to resolve things in a nice manner, in a polite manner. And it just didn't seem to be getting resolved. So we said, then, we may have to put in, speed cushions of some type. And
I always thought speed bumps
some
were
of them
up,
went
not
in, and
down.
then we were assured that
Maybe for dirt roads, they're different.
the speed would be reduced and dust wouldn't be created. So we smoothed out those speed cushions 3 different times.
Can we not
And
put
finally,
gravel on
after
them?
the 3rd time, it's like, this
On
is
the road?
not being resolved. So we put them back in.
Gotta remember the old folks,
Are those
the wolves have
placed there
paved their part.
for any
Their part's
reason to
paved.
harass or annoy her, or just to get back at her because you're angry?
Absolutely not. They were totally in there for safety. We have 321.9 feet of the easement is ours, goes across our property.
321.9
Another-
feet.
Oh, I'd
She's
say
on it,
like
huh?
128 feet belongs to Scott Vestal. Miss Hamilton has very little of the easement that is actually on her property.
It's ridiculous.
Miss Hamilton again mentioned this fence issue with a tree. First, she said, something about maybe an ATV or a tractor being driven on the fence, and then it was a tree. Do you remember that incident?
I do remember that incident. We had a windstorm and I checked my fences to make sure everything was secure because we sometimes have limbs come down on it. And then I noticed that Miss Hamilton's dogs were down and they chased my horses.
Uh-oh.
And one of them actually fell and luckily did not land on a stump. And I wondered why her dogs were out. So I walked up on Scott Vestal's property and I saw that one of his trees had been broken off about, I don't know, 15, 20 feet in the air. And the tree fell across Scott's property, which is also a little roadway that goes back in. It fell across Miss Hamilton's property and landed on her fence, and her fence was completely down to the ground.
Okay. And what did you guys do about that?
So because we helped maintain some of the deadfall
Down
on
to
Scott
the
Vestal's
ground.
property with his permission, Ron went up and we both did. He cut the tree at the property line of Miss Hamilton. We did not step foot with our tractor or ATV or anything else on her property. There were absolutely no tracks that the deputy could see that the tracks were not on her property. And we cleared up that other part of the tree.
Sue everybody.
Friday is when Miss Hamilton realized that her dogs were getting out, and she called the 911 to say that we had cut a tree and put it on her fence intentionally.
And she still makes that claim today.
And she still is making that claim, even though the officer has said there was no such thing.
We filed Exhibit B, which was that September 6, 2021 issue involving garbage cans. And Miss Hamilton makes mention or petition of like interfering with her garbage cans. What is the issue there?
Okay. Originally, and it still is, but I'm assuming by law, by the county, that Miss Hamilton has 20-foot easement.
Speaking of 20.
And the entrance to the easement was 20 feet until we were building our big shop and Ron extended it to 27 feet. So that big trucks and trailers, our own truck with my horse trailers, can swing wide and pull in that easement. So on this particular day in September, it was Labor Day weekend, 3 garbage cans were on the north side of the easement, which is the extra 7 feet that is not part of Miss Hamilton's easement. Her cans were there. Our daughter Stacy was coming home with her truck and toy hauler and was coming in that driveway and needed to swing wide to come in. So I personally moved her cans to the south side of the easement so that when you swing that truck and trailer, the trailer doesn't end up in the ditch. The officer came out and I showed her the pictures of where the cans were, where I moved them to, and she notified Miss Hamilton of the fact.
All right. So garbage cans were moved from one side of the driveway to the other, and the response from your neighbor, Miss Hamilton, was to call the police.
Yes.
Miss Hamilton also mentioned something about shooting guns off. I think she mentioned shotguns. Is that something that occurs on your property?
We are in a no shooting zone, so there's no shooting from our property ever.
No
Yeah.
shooting.
And besides that, we wouldn't be shooting around our horses.
Okay.
And spooking
that's
them and
normal.
having them go through a fence. We don't own a shotgun.
And then I briefly mentioned with Miss Hamilton, this Exhibit A, which was from August 26, where it sounds like you guys were having friends over, and Miss Hamilton mentioned that incident. Do you remember that incident?
Say the date again.
August 26 of 2022.
Okay. We regularly have a pool night on Thursday nights. We have various people come and we have a pool table and we play pool, we laugh, we joke,
High
we
stakes.
just interact. So on this particular night, we had quite a few guests there, and Miss Hamilton came down to leave, and she goes
That's quite a
down to the gate and she opens it and she stays there. So my husband Ron starts to walk down to close the gate after she leaves, because at that time she was never closing the gate. It's only been recently. So she stayed and she's videoing, and then she calls the police. And in our report from the police officer, he asked her, why didn't you just get in your car and leave? And her response was that she wanted to make sure she got a video in case anything happened. Well, nothing was going to happen if she just got in her car and left. The gate would have been closed after her and there would have been no problem.
Was there any citation or
Mind your business, is
arrest
what she's
from that
saying.
incident?
Not so ever, no.
I mean, looking back at this easement issue, has there ever been an instance where you or Ron or anybody there, excluding Stacy, who I know Stacy Brady, who keeps getting mentioned here, but is not part of this lawsuit.
Right.
Has anybody ever attempted to block Ms. Hamilton in using any type of device or the gate itself?
No. She's always had access to come and go. She did at one time have a visitor that parked out in front of the gate and blocked the entire driveway.
I don't have any other questions for Ms. Wolf here.
Any questions you wish to ask, Ms. Wolf?
I do.
Uh-oh.
You mentioned that shotguns or different guns and different things spook your horses. Do the ATVs and the quads not spook your horses?
Ooh, good question.
They do if they're down where the horses are in their enclosed area. If they're in the pasture, they feel like they're not confined and they don't need to run around. But if they're in their paddocks, then yes, they would.
So are your horses always over in the pasture, or do they not reside over by the stalls that are right by the easement that you guys put in shortly after we moved in there?
They oftentimes are in their paddocks that are by the easement, especially at night. That's where they are fed their evening meal. And at night, we can find them in there rather than them having access to the entire pasture.
Do you recall what time Stacy, the night she assaulted me in February, what time she was driving those ATVs?
Mm.
I'm gonna,
That has nothing
Your
to
Honor, I'm
do
gonna
with it.
object against any mention
Tom,
of
you might be
Stacy
on something.
Brady here. I don't know why that keeps getting mentioned, especially about an issue 2 years old, Your Honor.
I'm going to overrule your objection. She can answer that question.
So
Oh.
We were not even
Sorry.
home that evening. We were gone. So we were down at the Oregon sand dunes. So I really can't answer that because I was not there personally.
So
Yes,
the
that's on our
evidence
show
was
today.
submitted at 1:30 in the morning. She was driving ATVs drunk on the back of the property. Is that something that
Ma'am,
is?
and I am going to
Sorry.
sustain the anticipated
She tried to
objection.
push
that
it.
She said she wasn't there. She
She
can't really
tried.
testify to that. You know, when you're saying this, then that's
No,
kind
I
of you
was gonna
testifying. So,
twist the question. to
okay,
that.
then ask your question.
So
But
leading, and so is Stacy allowed to drive her ATVs and spook them?
Mm.
I don't quite understand that question.
she was asking if was it okay if Stacy drove the ATVs in a manner that might spook your horses?
Well, I doubt if they were speeding up and down the driveway, Your Honor.
They would never do that, Your Honor.
Okay, I think the question was, is Stacy allowed to drive the ATVs in a manner that would spook your horses? That seems to be a
She
kind of a yes
doesn't-
or no question.
She does not do that, no.
When was the photo taken that was for Exhibit A? Or that one with the trash cans with the trailer? Is that Exhibit A or B?
A,
Yeah, he has. He hasn't stopped laughing. I think he's had a
Exhibit B, sorry, I think.
little something, something.
You submitted a photo with the truck and the trailer, and you said that she needs that whole space to be able to clear her trailer through. When was that photo
Yes.
taken?
Your Honor, with a full-size four-door pickup with,
She's just wondering
Oh.
when that photo was taken.
oh, when? That was taken on September 6th or 7th during Labor Day. It was on a Monday. That's
What
when the
year?
picture was taken. That's when the police officer came out.
What year?
Do
What year?
we have it there?
Your Honor, I'm going to hand my client Exhibit B.
Sure. I have it up in front of me.
Okay.
It's a good one. I can't wait to watch it with everybody.
That was 2021, September 7th of 2021.
When was the logs and the planters at that location installed?
State that again, please.
On this photo, does it represent what it currently looks like?
No, it does not.
What would you describe is at the bottom of the easement now?
At the bottom of the easement, because of all of the hassles that have been with this easement, when in November 1st of 2022, we closed off the extra 7 feet. So
Why?
now the access is only 20 feet of the easement instead of 27.
Did you not state that my trash cans being in that section was causing an issue for her trailer to get through to properly access the property?
It was, yes. You need to swing wide with a truck and trailer in order to
Swing it.
maneuver into that easement. She needed that extra 7 feet. Without that extra 7 feet, she wouldn't have been able to pull in.
Do you have that 7 feet now currently?
It is blocked off so that nobody uses it.
So your complaint was that the trash cans were an issue for 1 day a week, but now nobody can use the access point because you installed logs there, so nobody could access that area.
It's not just 1 day a week. The garbage cans often are left there for 3, 4, and sometimes an entire week, which they were this last week. So the garbage cans were often in the way.
Thank you, Amazon.
So,
They're
but
logs,
you
they're
don't
logs, they're big, they're
use
heavy, they're
the
wood.
7 feet any longer, correct?
We used it really frequently because it was very convenient to come in that way and come down into our main area of our home entrance without having to back up and maneuver things around. Now, it's not as convenient for us. We have to come in a different way. We have to back around and get ourselves situated in order to maneuver our trucks and trailers.
So you use multiple access points now for your home to access your property, correct?
We use one. We use one access point for our home.
You don't use the easement then?
Once in a great while, we used it just about a week ago when we had someone come to get manure from our horse pile, and we had him go out that way, which you are very aware since you came up behind.
Burn. You were there. Why are you asking these questions in open
So
court?
are all access points closed off for your animals?
Are all access points closed off? Not at this time. We're in the process of reviewing all that's going to be necessary to do that. We've talked to Greg Mills, the neighbor to the south of us, about possibly putting up some fencing on his fence posts that right now are open.
So the only area that is blocked off is the gate?
The gate's not there as to block off anything at this point except for security because of the criminal activity we've had at our place and in
Criminal
the area.
activity.
But there's no other, are there any other access points that are blocked?
First we heard of
besides
that.
gate?
The gate does not block anything. It's freely able to be opened and closed. It just hooks with a chain on a hook.
Do you have any other gates installed anywhere else?
We have numerous gates throughout our property, yes.
For your access points to your property, are there any other gates installed?
Not right now, but possibly in the future, yes.
Ooh.
Are there any other access points that have speed bumps or speed cushions to deter any ATVs that are driving besides the easement?
I didn't quite catch that.
She's asking if there's any other speed bumps on any of other areas of your property that would include ATVs or anything like that, other than what's on the easement.
There's no need because we control the speed that's down on our property with our own driveways and things. If people don't abide by what we're asking them to slow down, then they are not invited to come back.
How do you block criminal activity from the other access points from your home?
You can hear that.
How do you, sorry, Your Honor, go ahead.
Go ahead there, Mr. Drury. If you heard that, you can.
How do you
But the
block?
question is, ma'am, I thought I heard you say that this gate was put up to block criminal activity. And then Ms. Hamilton is saying, well, if there's no other gates at any other access points, how do you block criminal activity from other places?
We have our security cameras and we also have alarms that go off when they enter. So we know when somebody enters our entranceways.
So you have video footage of multiple access points to your home?
Yes, we do.
Why was none of those video footages submitted for evidence to support your stance?
To support,
Because it has nothing to
hold
do
on,
with the,
hold on.
oh, okay.
To support our stamps, is that, I didn't hear what was said, Your Honor.
Yes, that's what she said.
Are we talking about the 2021 lawsuit?
Anything?
I don't know what we're talking about. The question was, my interpretation of the question is,
He's lost
if there's
too.
video cameras, why were there no video cameras of any of these multiple incidents that happened on
Any occasion?
the easement area? That was my interpretation of the question, although I could be wrong.
No, that's correct.
It sounded like a question about why a certain discovery maybe wasn't released in a certain case. I don't know.
Right. She's wanting to know why there's no video of any of the things that, I mean, I've heard all kinds of stuff about what's alleged to have occurred on that gravel road.
Okay.
And she's saying, well, gosh, if you have all these cameras, why don't we have video of all that stuff? Which again, there may be reasons for that. They just may choose not to. I don't know, but
Okay.
that was the question.
Do you understand?
I think so, because we were not doing a harassment suit against her. So we wouldn't be producing things except showing ourselves not doing the things she said. Yes, we have pictures of her cutting the chain. We've got pictures of, yes, she alleged that we maliciously moved her garbage cans. And I had showed proof of that no, we did not. So showing other security videos of my entrances to my homes didn't seem necessary for this, Your Honor.
So your defense is that I'm speeding up and down a driveway, but you have no video footage to show proof that I speed up and down the driveway?
We have lots of proof of that, but that was part of the lawsuit that you dropped. So it really didn't pertain to this because we're not saying anything now about you speeding up and down. We put those in years ago to reduce the speed, to reduce the dust that was created, the hazard that could be to our horses. And the gate now was a security measure
perfect
for people
To
that would be
show
wanting to
this is why we
trespass
did
on
what
the
we did.
property and be up to no good, which
Of course.
also protects Miss Hamilton's property. So they can't access just freely. They have to get out. They have to open the gate. That then gives us maybe an opportunity to get some footage of who might be doing the criminal activity. And we had some suspicious activity just this week. And it happened at our house and it happened at Greg Mill's house.
I wish Greg was here. We keep bringing him up a
But
lot.
you've never submitted
Greg
any
Mills, he's the
video
south
footage
neighbor.
of me speeding up and down the driveway at any point.
Yes, we did in the lawsuit. That was all part of our lawsuit evidence. At that, now
I think
that
she's
that is,
asking, and again,
Everything the guy said
I
was
think we can
about
move
the-
on from that point. They're asking, is
Thank
there any
you.
video in this case? This is a lawsuit too, ma'am, by the way.
okay.
It's just a different one. And
Right.
the answer is there's none here. So you can move on and ask your next question.
That's, I'm
All right.
Your Honor.
Raggle monkey.
I just
would
have
hate to
one
live next
question
to
for
them.
either of the wolves. And that is, when these zip ties, there was the chain on there, which apparently was cut. My understanding of zip ties, once they're on, they can't.
Yeah, you
be
can't take them
undone
off
unless you
without
cut
cutting them.
And so, and I guess my question is, I wasn't out there, and ma'am, you might want to consider the fact that I don't think this is as funny as you do. And so, you just stop and don't answer that.
Okay.
And so my question is, were the zip ties holding the fence shut that you needed to cut to open the fence, or were they doing something else?
The reason I grinned, Your Honor, was that Miss Hamilton said she cut the zip tie. She did not. The zip tie was attached to the chain, which then the zip tie attached to the gate because the other chain had been cut off. All you had to do was take the chain, put it around the post and hook it on the hook. So the zip tie did not lock the gate shut at all.
Okay, so ma'am, what happens now is I'm going to hear from you. It's just, you're the petitioner. I'm going to give you a final argument. You can tell me why you think in order to sum up or clarify your evidence, then I'll hear from Mr. Drury. And then I'll give a decision on this. So go ahead, ma'am.
Sorry. So the chain is actually still sitting on the post. They've left it there since that day. And in addition to that chain, they have now, so here's the fence post.
Mhm.
And on this side, they've now installed wood blocks coming off of the post this way. So you have to actually funnel in the chain this way to come around and now hook it. And there's two different ones. They had put a block one day and then they put a block the other day. I have, in the last couple of months, probably since February, I have opened and closed that gate every single day. And I have sat there and said, God, you do your will with this. I'm following the will of you and I'm doing what they're asking of this. And I'm driving at a speed that there's no evidence that's being supported that in any way have I done anything wrong to them. But I have multiple people that come to me that won't even come to my property anymore because they cannot safely access it. I have emergency vehicles that can't even come to give my daughter aid. I had to drive my daughter over those trenches again to the emergency room because they couldn't even get somebody safely out to my property to get my daughter out of the vehicle. And
Wow.
it's just, if it's not one thing, it's another. And I just sit there and I grin and bear it, and I have to record it and document it just to show that there's a pattern, that it keeps increasing. This hasn't stopped for the last 3 years. And the only reason why I brought up the whole thing with their daughter is that I have tried to show grace in every possible way, to show a loving heart and to show grace inside of it. And even it didn't spike up until this last month or so, because her daughter's case is now supposed to go into trial when I offered mediation.
Actually, I looked
So-
at that. That's not completely my understanding of and I just looked that up while you're up here, and I only looked that up because you brought that up. They reached a resolution in that. It looks to me like they got some sort of what's known as they continued the case without a finding, subject to dismissal, so long as there's no other violations. And now it's set for, you're right, it's on for today.
It's on
And
for
it's for,
today.
because they made a motion to revoke because there's an allegation of new issues.
Yeah.
Mr. Dury knows what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. I hope you could follow that. But so they did resolve the case, but that's the status of that case. And
Yeah.
again, I just let Mr. Dury know, I just looked that up. I didn't know that until it came up here, and then I was able to look it up here.
Mm.
So continue on.
He's talking to you, honey. Did he creed frame? No, okay. She
Oh,
look,
but she might
the
have
camera,
left.
her camera is creed framed. Look. The top one, the top left, look how he's creed framed in that
Oh,
picture.
yeah, you're right.
That's the one that she's talking on right now.
Yep. Well,
And he
while we
doesn't
have a
realize
second,
it.
they,
Is it my turn, Your Honor? I'm sorry.
no, it's
She's talking,
ahead.
you don't know it yet because he doesn't realize she's creed framed.
a monumental moment just happened. I wish I could have caught it over on Stansbury. A raggedy looking woman comes up and she stood in front of the podium.
Oh,
And you could tell there's a whole bunch of back and forth to try to get her into the right spot, but it kept going to Stansbury, so I couldn't like just cut it real quick so you could see it. But it was pretty funny. Hang on till after this case. We've got to discuss this one a little bit because there's some craziness.
and in case you're wondering about the chats, we're live on Credence and Mikey on YouTube, as well as We Got a Case, because it allows people who just want the cases to watch over on We Got a Case, and people that enjoy everything that myself and Credence do can watch that right there, easily convenienced on Credence and Mikey.
Your Honor, can you still hear me?
Any confusion? Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes. Well,
You got this. I know you got this. Let's go ahead and let her have the decision.
We're waiting.
also, I agree with a lot of you in the chat that she should have stopped when he I think it's pretty obvious where the judge is going with this, especially when he just went after her for laughing. I think it's pretty obvious. I would have probably stopped at that point because then she got into the God stuff again with the daughter getting hurt, which that part I'm confused a bit about.
Yeah,
She
the daughter fell and hurt herself on one of these trenches. Because of said trenches, emergency vehicles were unable to get to her, and she had to transport her in her own vehicle to the emergency vehicles, as well as Creed. No packages are able to be delivered.
Yeah,
because of these trenches. FedEx, UPS, everybody refuses to come any further. And to me, they've put this gate up as just an inconvenience to her to have to get in and out every time she wants to come in or bring in company or anything like that. I think that's like their way of controlling her without controlling her.
Oh, 100%. Amazon girl, another 10 memberships. Thank you.
It's I think somebody said it earlier. It's like a passive aggressive type of move.
Oh, 100%. Karen, no, they've lost the lady, her camera. We're waiting on that to come back.
She's
up.
actually in the courtroom in front of the judge. So they're fixing that right now as we sit here in real time, reminding everybody we do this Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, 1 p.m. Eastern. And a very warm reception, Creed, for our videos we dropped over the weekend.
Oh, that's nice, because I looked at comments on one of them, and I had to almost for 24 hours not respond. I don't know how you look at comments.
Oh, I just kill them with kindness and just be as snarky as I can.
Just makes me absolutely crazy. I wanted to see this guy that just walked up while we had a second.
He's a handsome rascal.
Yeah, no, I just I saw on I just I saw a bunch. Man, these guys with they're talking. It's a commentary. Will you commentary? Shut up. God, go watch it yourself. I don't know. I couldn't be snarky. I would have to be I don't
It
know.
it
So
always makes me laugh because, you know, people want you to do things the way they want you to do them, and they
that's
don't
the whole thing is
understand
I
that.
would like to say, "Oh, okay, so you'd rather our channel just go ahead and do what everybody else does, right? Is that how the world should go? We'll just do it. We'll just copy everybody else, do the same thing. Okay, cool. That's how you want your life and good. Jesus.
I've got too much to say. I want to enjoy this with you guys, and if you're watching in the future, hopefully you're enjoying the live chat aspect as well as me and Creed being here live, giving our points of views.
Yeah, but a PO box you can't get
Oh,
like FedEx and UPS stuff at, can you?
I don't think so.
Does that work?
And it's still that's a huge inconvenience. I mean, you're fixing an inconvenience by yet another inconvenience.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, there should have been a map, maybe. I think that would have helped us all. I think if we could have seen a
What's he do?
bit of a map.
Oh, he's
He's
going
going to have
back.
a quick smoke, or he's going to go get his nail file or something.
Yeah, what was with all that nail looking?
It's
I don't
still
know what's
going
up with
on.
that.
Oh, she just grabbed her boob. Nope, just grabbed the pen.
Everybody was talking about Mr. Wolf, red face. I'm
Mhm.
guessing red face, maybe a little glick, 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 glick. I don't know. Maybe he has high blood
Oh,
pressure. I don't know.
I instantly go with them talking about the parties and stuff. I instantly go to the fact that he is an alcoholic, and I saw a lot. But allegedly, that's just my
Yeah, you hear about all the hard partying and whatnot. I'm going to keep an eye out for the when they bring in the daughter for her case of assault, which is remarkable that we're having them both on the same day.
Hmm.
I think there's a lot going on there that we still haven't heard. I mean, the man did allude to the children being little shits and messing with stuff, but
a lot of people in the chat thought that was kind of the crutch of the whole situation. That's where it all began, is the kids being kids, what it sounded like.
oh god, yeah. And I'm sure at some point they said, "Oh yeah, you guys come over anytime y'all want.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it we
the
don't
children.
mind one bit." And then they said, "Okay, we're gonna do whatever we want then, huh?" Oh, we appreciate Australia and all of our fine case heads over there.
So I'm gonna bring up the biggest red flag of him when he started talking. What was when he started on about his imposed 5-mile-an-hour thing.
Again, this is a road that he doesn't own. It's a private drive, I'm guessing, but can you imagine? He's got huge signs out there, say 5 miles an hour on them and stuff. And
Oh, I could see it. I
They,
mean, I could see him putting up just a-hole signs all over. So that was the first red flag for me from him. T drop.
T, are you feeling well?
T, thank you, 10 memberships. It's been raining memberships. I love it.
Love, love, love it.
Appreciate that. But yeah, that was the first red flag for me from that. We talked this much about it, but the daughter getting hurt thing. I don't know if I necessarily I believe a lot of what she was saying. That part of it, I feel as if I kind of wish that we maybe had spoke about that just a little bit, got a little bit of details on that. I don't know if I believe that 100%.
That it was specifically because of the trenches.
Yeah, I mean, are we down there playing around? We hanging out down there? Or was she just unhooking the gate or something? See, that's another thing is with those where she it kept saying that they were using the zip ties basically to close it, but now she said the older Miss Wolf there said that they were using it basically like a closure as like
Yeah,
a hook.
I think. Oh my God, they are shutting off the string.
Cut it. Well, we're gonna talk about it, and we'll just watch whatever's happening over here in Stansbury until we get that back. They probably
Maybe they're just restarting it, probably.
But no, the kid getting hurt, I felt as if it's kind of maybe the reason why it rubbed me a little bit the wrong way was because that was right when she got into her churchy stuff too, which is fine. But in this, do you really need to go into that whole? You know what I'm saying? And that was after he already went off on after the judge already said that to her about laughing. The other one,
yeah.
I thought that she was doing a very good job and doesn't even need a lawyer. And yeah, that's when somebody's doing like pro se stuff, you don't get to say that very often.
Yeah, she
Weird.
she came in, she presented did a really good job. I'm wondering, we haven't really touched on it much, but she talked about how her husband had left during COVID and never came back. Um, I wonder if any of that maybe they were friends with him more than her. Maybe there was some sort of contentiousness between those. Maybe they were team husband and not team her. I don't know. Are
Yeah.
they still friends with the husband? Maybe he comes over and plays pool on Thursdays. I don't know. It's definitely a lot of moving parts, stuff we won't even find out about. But
One other thing I wanted to say, thank you all the chat. I'm just catching up with all you guys with the commentary. I appreciate that. I mean, that's the whole point of the channel. Now, can we be a little bit more quiet? Can we not
Sure.
talk? Yes, and that will come within time. We'll get better with timing and
if
stuff
you
like
watch one of
that.
our old videos
Yeah,
compared to how we are now, night and day.
yeah. I'm trying to do better with that, but also that's part of it. If we shouldn't have to sit here and be extremely worried about talking over, because I mean, let's be honest, there's key points obviously that you want to hear, but a lot of it is, if this is a tiny little piece, it's not going to kill you, but I don't know. I can't listen. Because I feel the need to put people in their place when they say certain comments like that. It's the whole point of the channel. The whole channel is a point of not doing what every single other person does on YouTube. It's not just with court.
Yeah. As soon as I see a comment like that, the first thing that pops in my mind is, oh, they just don't get it. Even if I try to explain it, they just don't get it. They don't understand what we're trying to do.
I understand if they don't get us, but if you don't understand the fact that there should be some sort of variety to this world, then I don't know what to tell you. And again, the biggest thing that we always have from that is go watch them yourself.
I think a lot of people get mad too, because a lot of stuff they can't go find because they don't have the time. So that's why you need to be quiet and be happy that you do at least have this. Otherwise, you wouldn't have it at all.
But see, I don't know. Those comments are what. But you can come in here and call me a fat ass. You can say all the stupid shit that they will sometimes say. I don't care about any of that. But what does bother me is that kind of stuff, and you don't understand. I don't know. Makes me nuts. So good for you to be able to not go off on every single one of those people.
I've read so many, thousands upon thousands of them. So,
all right, Bonsai, that's another one. Okay. So let me circle back to this very quickly. While I was out checking the traffic, and she kept trying to crowbar that thing in about riding the ATVs at night. Is it possible? Remember when she was saying that, and the judge let her go on?
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that she was trying to say something about that? Here's what I think about this, is that they kept talking about startling with the horses and keeping them safe and all that, but yet you're wilding out, allegedly, potentially, maybe drunk out on ATVs at night, going very fast up and down the roads. Fine, basically, is what she was trying to. That's why, and then the lawyer kind of didn't like that at all.
Oh yeah, it boils down to they don't like her. That's it.
No doubt.
Nothing more than that.
It seems like everybody else can do whatever the hell they want on this easement or on those roads, basically. Unless I'm reading that completely wrong. Shells, congratulations on quite a few months, by the way. I saw that earlier. And
you lied about it?
$5. Oh, did you really? Oh, she did. Okay, that's funny.
So what you're saying is I need to throw her ass off this train.
I love it. That's funny. Red flags for right. Guys, Mikey's constantly waiting for them to figure their stuff out. She's going off. Let's see what's going on.
Any other questions today, Miss Freeman? Anyway, and she yells at me all the time, and he sits and lets her do that.
All right, you can go with the officer. Thank you, Miss Freeman.
Thank you.
I think we missed a good one there.
Thank you.
We were chatting it up. We're waiting for that one to come back.
So there was a case before this one that that I recorded that I decided we're not going to watch. which I typically don't do that. But this one was a case of a adult with autism living with his parents, and one of the neighbors had taken out a PPO against him because he had come near her and acted like maybe inappropriately a little bit. And I was just like, you know what? I'm not watching that. I have it, but just the subject matter of the guy with autism that's there pulls at your heartstrings. It was just too much. I was at the point of like, oh my God, I'm gonna cry about this or something. I don't know. It was just too much to handle.
Who's handsome about people that leave comments about us talking on a channel that's about commentary?
That's about joking.
That's it.
Man, we're gonna give it a few more minutes, but
Yeah.
if they don't come back in a timely manner, I will record it and we will find out what happens.
So, want me to put on this crazy looking guy and we'll hang out, watch some Stansbury?
Yeah, we'll watch
for a few
him
minutes?
for a few minutes.
I will BRB very quickly.
Yes. Okay. Before we go any further, obviously, I know that English is not your first language.
Why is this bar down here, by the
it,
way? Do you know?
Nepali,
It
is that your
happens to me
language
every
or-
once in a while, and I don't know
native
why.
language?
Right, Nepali.
Yeah. Do you feel comfortable enough with your English that you feel comfortable going forward today?
Egg nutrition.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Before I can accept your plea, I need to go over a few things with you. I'm not trying to get you to change your mind about what you're doing, but rather to verify that you're doing it of your own free will. So, Mr. Gurgai, you're presumed to
Gurgai,
be
what
innocent
a
of these
great
charges.
name.
It's always the government's burden to prove a person guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. You don't have to prove that you're not guilty. Do you understand that?
Now, sir, please.
What's
What?
that?
Now, please.
What?
Not guilty, sir.
What?
Okay, I need to figure out whether or not you are understanding me or not. Because if you're not, I have to get an interpreter.
Please, interpreter.
Okay, we'll get an interpreter and I'll enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. Are you from Kansas City?
Before I'm living in the Kansas City, right now I'm the homeless. I'm living in the street.
You're homeless, did you say?
Living in a squid?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know what he's saying. Can I get a translator too?
Is there anything you want to say before I set your bond?
No.
He doesn't understand what you're saying, so I mean,
How did you manage to get from Kansas City to Ohio?
Actually, my grandmama is living in the Ohio, in a Clifton. That's why I moved to in a Clifton, and my grandmama is like to move to Clifton to Ohio. That's why I moved to the grandmom home. That's why I'm outside.
oh, he lived in the street. I thought you said a squid. He's living in Dice Clay. You think so? Oh! I like that. Yeah, he was with Shoestring Hobo. Yeah, he understood pretty good. I think he knows enough to get us through this. I don't think we need any outside help.
All right, Mr. Gurgai, here's what I'm going to do. I'll enter your pleas of not guilty. I'll reflect that we need to get a Nepali interpreter, which is not a problem. We have
Nepali.
the need of Nepali interpreters quite a bit. And I'm going to set your bond at $1,000, cash surety or 10%, no drinking, no drugs while on bond, and you're not to return to the certified station on Church Street if you are able to post your bond and be released.
He's asking for a lot.
Okay.
This guy.
Now, you can get a form to ask for a lawyer there at the jail. They can help you with that. I would strongly recommend that you do that. And we will have the interpreter next time you're here. So, any other questions?
No, sir. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Gurgai, you may go with the officer. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Now, how do y'all all feel about your Mexico
Michael James.
comments? Hmm?
Good afternoon, sir. Are you Mr. James?
Yes, sir.
Mr. James, you understand your rights in court today?
Yes, sir.
And did you receive a copy of the 2 complaints in your case?
I did, sir.
Did you read them? You understand what you've been charged with?
Yes, sir.
All right. First count, Licking County Sheriff is alleging that on or about May the 5th of this year, in Etna Township, Licking County, Ohio, that you did knowingly make a false statement with purpose to mislead a public official in performing the public official's official function.
That's what he said.
That's commonly known as falsification. It is a first-degree misdemeanor, and the maximum penalties there are up to 180 days in jail, up to a $1,000 fine. Understand?
Yes, sir.
The second count alleges that on that same date, but in the city of Heath and in Licking County, Ohio, that you did knowingly with the purpose to deprive the owner of property valued less than $1,000, obtained or exerted control over that property without consent. That's commonly known as theft. It's also a first-degree misdemeanor with the same maximum penalties. So, how do you wish to plead to those charges?
Not guilty.
And what is your current address?
Lisa B with 10
2445
membership.
Columbus, Lancaster Road.
Thank you.
Lot 268, Lancaster, Ohio 43130.
Are you employed, Mr. James?
Yeah,
What do you do?
Yeah.
I build fences for Lowe's.
Who's handsome? Yeah.
So, like, you're a subcontractor?
Yeah,
Okay. How long have you been doing that?
about
Fences
4.5
for
years
Lowe's.
now.
And is it out of a specific store? Or is there like a corporate assignment thing?
It's just all over Central Ohio.
But it all comes from one single Lowe's store?
No, it comes from every Lowe's.
Gotcha. All right, let me take a quick look over the file here.
Well, he takes the
Let's see.
look.
Did you know you have a holder on you?
Uh-oh.
Out of Fairfield.
It doesn't say, but that was going to be my guess.
Yeah,
Do you know what it's for?
It says
I think it's for a failure to appear.
All right. Well, it looks like Judge Fields issued a warrant for your arrest for failing to appear for a PV hearing, I think. All right. Let me take a quick look here, okay?
I don't
Yes,
know
sir.
much about Judge Fields, but I know Mrs. Fields' cookies are not too bad.
They're pretty good cookies. I got to go to Lowe's later. I got to get some clean river rock. I'm reading about, my fountain, Mikey. You've seen it.
Clean river rock? Is that a
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah. I didn't know they had dirty river rock also. So they say I can dampen it. I have to fill this thing like every 2 to 3 days. And that's very annoying. Very annoying. Because like it'll lose so much water, it'll start like the pump will be making noise at 3 a.m. Yeah. So, but I read it's kind of a common thing if it splashes out because it's splashing out a lot. So I can also bring the pump down. So I'm learning to adult. It's on my list.
Adulting. It doesn't look like they're coming back anytime soon.
Yeah.
I'm going to stay on it. I'm going to try and find out our results. I kind of think we all have an idea how that went down.
Oh, we know where they're. Yeah, we definitely know what they're going to be doing. No doubt about that. But I would have them. I have a feeling that the judge is going to have some things to say about it.
So before you leave a comment, well, you guys didn't even find out what happened. Don't worry.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. Well, as soon as we know, guess what? You'll know. And that's a promise.
I was going to show everybody my fountain, but I can't find the video.
Have you ever seen the one outside the one hotel in Vegas? It's basically the same thing.
That's not quite that
It's absolutely the same thing. Don't let Creed talk it down.
Oh, wait. Can't see it, though. You can hear me peeing. Oh, God, that's embarrassing. I got it at the auction. I didn't think it was going to be this big, by the way. Why is it doing that? Okay, stop. God almighty. There it is.
Oh, baby.
Oh, that should be all crap. Love it.
You can also find this on Creed's TikTok page.
Yeah.
Fountain of Creed.
Yes, Fountain of Creed. But it's annoying. I love the thing. But I don't want to just let it sit there.
I don't blame you.
Thing,
I don't
I don't
blame
want to fill it up every day either. But they say, yeah. So if I get some of Flush's famous polished rocks and put them in there, it'll stop the bigger flow, I guess. But that's next. We'll do that in a few years. We'll get to there. Flusha, thank you for the 2 bones. All right, sorry guys. If they, and
I'm going to keep an eye out the rest of the day. Don't worry.
I got shipping to do. Thanks. Thank you. Yeah, no, I absolutely love the fountain. I just want to get it to where I'm not filling it every 2 days. And it's oh God, put some fish in there. He's read every single one of them. It doesn't go on the shelf until it has been read.
It smells like old books in here.
I'm just stalling until the monetary monorail comes back around. It's a bit long.
Just remember to put Flush on the end.
The Trench Express, as we're calling it today, aka monetary monorail. Gary, thanks for making our day with this blessing. Hey, it's Georgia Peach. Heather dropped 5 big ones, not hot steamers, but big
$5.
Carol is not a nasty bitch. I'll put it in there. Bigfoot is real. Texas RX Tech. Hey now. Alex Atreyu late, but here. Amazon Girl spreading the love. Matt Dreamweave.
I was saving it for me.
Shell's told a lie. Trisha, hey. Lisa B is awesome. Who's handsome? Of course, it's Creed. And
Flusha.
It's been a slice.
Oh, kids, we had a good time. If you have not yet liked the video, please follow the prompt on the screen and do so.
I mean, that's pretty fancy here. I like that. Creed's got an old hose that, by the way, at 6:45 in the morning, the other morning when I went to fill it, I go back, I'm holding on to the hose, and I turn it on just slightly. Oh, it's just all over me. Oh, knees down at 6:45 a.m. Soaking wet.
Look here, guys. If we've learned nothing here today, we've learned that Creed's old hose just goes off and makes a mess.
It sure does. In the morning, anyways.
First thing in the morning.
No, it's not leaking. I promise you. Try that.
No, it's humidity and direct sunlight.
It splashes.
So if you sprinkle when you tinkle, please be neat. Wipe the seat. Thank you, guys. We love you. See you at 4:05. Will we? You and Robert dating? He said you need to find something for him. No comment. Your silence speaks volumes.